All right. The main thing in this one that I gotta be honest with all of you guys out there, it's very simple. Take your own side. You have to. No matter what happens in this life, you have to take your own side. It's the best piece of advice you'll ever get in this world. Seriously. I've been through so much, probably a lot of you out there, and this is why you're probably watching this, right? Constantly, we have to look within ourselves to what the problem may be. And don't get me wrong, over the last few years, I had a lot of different things with me internally that I had to work on. And I did, right? Like, the main thing I always kind of notice, I still kind of do it too. It's funny, somebody called me out on this the other day, right? Actually, like a week ago. And she's like, you gotta stop saying sorry for everything. I'm like, look, man, it's not my fault. It's kind of just like a defense, not a defense mechanism, but just like a thing I say. I'm like, oh, my fault, or, my apologies or something, right? But you just have to get over little things that happen in life. You gotta be proud of who you are, stand tall, right? And this is something every video I've been doing. In the beginning, I started, like, I was going through my videos, like, a few weeks ago, right? And I was watching, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like, first off, I don't really expect, honestly, the main thing to say this, like, to be, make these big videos, everyone watching them, but it's like, the main thing is, you have to be proud of where you get, or where you are, where you come from, and, like, how you represent yourself. Because that's all that matters in the end. And I was like, man, I gotta stop, saying stupid things like, just saying, oh, my apologies or sorry 24/7. It's something that somebody else does too. We called each other out, my friend of mine, and we're just like, dude, I was like, why do we say this like we're idiots? I'm like, why do we keep doing this to ourselves? It was something really funny. We had a conversation, like, look, we gotta work on it ourselves. Like, we accidentally think like, I'm sorry. No, I'm like, I'm sorry. And we just really go back and forth. But look, honestly, you gotta stand tall, stand your ground. Don't be scared what you think or feel. This is something that a lot of people today are so scared to do. And this is something that I just truly gotten over the last 2 years. Like, I used to be scared how I think and feel in public and stuff like that. Or just like, if we're like, somebody asked me like a political question or something, I would give my honest truth over the last year. And a lot of people don't like it, but you just have to accept it, man. Life's too short, and I don't really care what people think or say about me anymore. It's been a long time coming. And you have to learn to accept this, because a lot of people are just going to hate on you no matter what, especially these days. Everyone's very narcissistic, especially pessimistic. They don't like anybody. They're always like jealous about something. Think about it. There's so many people in debt today because they can't afford the things they want. And that's the problem. Like, you look around some of these people, there's people I know too that couldn't afford these car payments, and they're getting these extravagant vehicles. It's like, dude, you don't need that. It's like, just because someone else has it, it's okay driving something that's 2003. It's probably cooler in my opinion anyway. But it's just, you have to get over this. And that really makes you a man, honestly, standing tall on your opinions. And a lot of people got really heated with me over, like, some conversations before. Whether it might be something political, like, for example, I had, like, this thing a few months ago to last year, when people were talking about the ICE things. And I had no problem giving my opinions on it. And people were just like, oh, you're this and that. And it's just like, dude, who cares? It's like, I don't care no matter what I have to say. You asked me a question, I gave the answer. That's simple. Had another question with another friend a few months ago, and it's just like, you just gotta accept it and move on. Like, we had a really big dispute too, this friend and I, about something that he said, which was really outlandish. I would never say this to anybody else. It's kind of like a personal thing. And he said this to me. I'm like, dude, what the hell is your problem? And he just starts going off and just starts name calling. It's like, look, man, you're 24 years old. You can't be doing that. You can't be some retard hothead, honestly. Like, I know you're still young and everything. Like, I'm only 25, but it's like, you have to understand to a point of like, look, you can't act a certain way. You shouldn't be doing these stupid things. It's like, when are you going to change? When does that loop end? When does that addiction end? And that's what it really is nowadays with certain people, or especially people in the past that used to go out so much all the time. It was to constantly doing, the heavy drinking or drugs. It's like, you're constantly stuck in a loop. When do you get to see your kids, your family? When do you get to have that, let's say it's a Saturday night. You get to have all your family come over or something like that. You do it once a week. You get to learn from each other, or not learn from each other, but what's going on in their lives. Nobody has that nowadays. There's no real foundation. And if you do, it's kind of fake. I've learned this a lot over the last few years. It's just like, they would shit talk each other at the end, right? They would walk away like, he's an asshole, he's this. And it's like, dude, it's like, why? What do you get from that? What do you seriously get from that? You're not going to agree with everybody anyway in this life. I've accepted that a long time ago. And you just got to respect other people's ways of living, truthfully. And don't get me wrong, it depends what we're talking about too when we're saying that. Because if it's like something, like, I have a different like perspective on life, right? I've gotten a lot of hate in a few of the things I've talked about with other people in the past, right? About how I want my kids and certain things to do. And people are like, you're this, you're that. I'm like, I don't care. Because and that's the thing. Here's a situation, I'll bring it up really quickly. I brought it up in another video. I had a situation where we were out having dinner with I was with my ex-girlfriend at the time, with her friends and their boyfriends, and they asked about having a gay kid. I was like, yeah, I'd be pissed. I was like, that'd be impossible if I did. I was like, there's no way. I was like, we're gonna be doing this, that, and the other thing. And they had like a big like on their eyes, they were just pissed off the women. I'm like, who cares? It's like, that's my opinion. I don't want my kids to be that way. It's just how it is, right? And I don't understand why people care so much about that. Like, why do you care? Why would you want your kids gay anyway? And it's like, I don't understand that. Like, where's the mentality at? There's no real men in that world anymore, or in the household. They let things just go by now because there's so much estrogen in the water and birth control in the water too, which doesn't help. And a lot of men are just scared to be them, and tell the truth. And I just don't give a shit. You got to get to that point where you pick your side and be like, look, man, I know what's right for me. I know what's right for my family. I don't care. It's that simple. And that's something we have to get to eventually, and just accept our way of life. Like, I don't understand why everybody else has to have an opinion on that. It's like, dude, you're not in my life. Are you in my house every day? Are you watching my kids? You're not going to be watching my kids. You know what I'm saying? Simple shit like that in the future. When I do have that, it's like, fuck off. It's that simple. But yeah, you can't betray yourself. That's what I'm saying. Also, another thing I really thought about deeply, right? I used to beat up younger self of me, right? I was very very critical, harshly on my younger self. And I'm like, why would I do that? Looking back on me, I was like, he was young. He didn't have a map either in his way of life. You don't have a map now. You don't have a whole thing for yourself. It's like, why would you even look back on yourself and hate on yourself for certain things you did, or just things that happened when you were younger? It's like, you can't beat yourself up. You got to accept that and be like, look, man, this is something that happened, and it's made me who I am today. I'm very proud of myself. I don't care what people think, that's that and the other thing, and you're getting your life in order. It's that simple. It's just, don't look at him and beat him up. Oh, I did this at 15, this, that, and the other stuff. It's like, look, I've met a lot of good people. One of the smartest kids I ever met, believe it or not, he really didn't have a family structure, didn't have a mom or dad, right, as younger teenage years and stuff like that. He lost all of his hair because he did so much drugs when he was younger. And he's telling me, he's like, look, man, he's like, I had to help myself. He's like, there's nobody else. He cleaned himself up. Good look. He's like, he had to shave himself and everything like that. He's like, look, I had to look good for myself. He's like, I had to become good looking for myself. He's like, I had to appreciate who I am in the mirror. He's like, I just drink water only. He's like, I eat very clean. He's like, I don't do stupid shit. I don't drink, smoke, or do drugs or vape. He's like, that's the worst thing anybody can do in this world. And I was like, yeah. I was like, that's a really smart thing to say to yourself at 18 years old. And he's like, yeah, man. He's like, I just don't want to be an idiot like everybody else in the world. It's like 99% of people, this is what his theory was. He's like, are just retarded. I'm like, I don't know if it's 99%, but it's probably like at least in the 80s. But it's just, you have to take your own side. You have to cut those people off that are pulling you down. And I've seen this happen to a lot of people. It happens a lot more so with women than men. But there's a lot of men out there who just don't know how to relieve those friendships because they don't want to be alone. And look, I don't understand what this whole I do understand the loneliness epidemic, but you have to love yourself, truly. As soon as you get over that stuff, you can truly love yourself. I'll make a video on this later because I was that way too, I'll be honest. But as soon as you love yourself, you'll just be so excited and ecstatic. I make myself laugh. I'm kind of psycho, right? I'm kind of a freak at nature, right? I'm like, what kind of retard am I? But it's just like, holy shit. That's the best way to live your life, though, for real. The next thing I just want to say is, say no and stop there. I had an incident, over a week ago with somebody, and I told them no, and they just kept, I'm like, dude, fuck off. It's like, no, I told you no once. I'm not saying it again. It's that simple. And a lot of people today expect certain things, and it's like, look, man, I don't do everything for everybody. I'm not bending over backwards for you so you could have a better thing going. Somebody asked me for something, I'm like, no. I'm like, it's that simple. You leave it be, and it'll wash itself over. They could talk shit about you or whatever. Let it happen. It shouldn't have to keep happening over and over and over and over again. Because then at that point, you're just stuck and you're trapped in an endless cycle. Seriously. You're literally in a cycle that you can't break out of. It's just, you got to do it. But yeah, so stop choosing people who will wreck you for life. And I've seen this. We all have seen it. I have so many different people in this life that I met and talked to, and it's like, look, it's like, what are you getting at? Seriously. You hang out with somebody who does drugs every weekend. It's like, when does the party end? Don't you want to be a mother one day? I told this to somebody a long time ago I was talking to. And I was like, don't you want to be a mom one day? I was like, how are you going to look at yourself when you're 35 years old, and then you're just going to be like, oh yeah, I was young and stupid. It's like, okay, you're still stupid. You're still doing the same thing over and over again because you don't want to confront the conflictions that you have. It's that simple. And I think it is. I just don't think a lot of people have that notion. And there's always an excuse nowadays. Everyone is just excuse. It's like, look, man, there should be no excuses, honest to God. You should just be putting yourself out there. You can't be really scared to talk and you know what I'm saying? I don't really care anymore what happens. And I think that's the level of, not ambition, but what would you say? Notoriety, I guess? I don't think it's notoriety, but it's just, you have to live your life that way of being like, look, if you're going to sit here and beat yourself up the entire time, your whole entire life, you're not getting nowhere. You have to understand, being on your own side and just understanding who you are is the best way to live your life. I'm going to give a story really quickly about this. I had some old boomer retard give me advice. It was the worst advice on the planet. And that's when I realized something. Why would I take advice from some retard, right? Who never really probably lived their life, didn't have a real job ever in his life, got out of college around 36, 38 years old, and that's all they did. And I was just constantly trying to find myself. And it's like, dude, you don't need to find yourself out there. It's something I'm probably gonna make a video on a little bit later, I thought about, but it's like, finding yourself's bullshit. Like, it truly is. It's one of the worst things I've ever heard in this life. And I think Andrew Tate might have said this many years ago, and I 100% agree. Maybe it was Jordan Peterson. I forget who it was. And I was in my teens listening to this. It's like, don't find yourself, create yourself. That's the best thing to do. He's like, take all the best prospects of yourself that you know and love about yourself, right? Whatever that is, writing, drawing, whatever it is, put it into one and become that person that you want to be as well. It's just, it's very simple. I don't understand how a lot of people have, I think it's just the main problem is we don't have that person in our lives that are trying to tell us this. A lot of parents I see nowadays don't even tell their kids how to act, how the morals and values, having one-on-one conversations and stuff like that. There's no real structure. And this is like the downfall of society, right? And this is why I think Gen Z is gonna be one of the best generations coming up, especially the conservative ones like me. It's just, you need those types of people who are gonna be like, look, man, and just give it to you straight and just don't care about their opinions, because everyone's so like sharp and soft these days. For real. Like, it's just, that's how it is. And I just gotta be like, look, man, if you take your own side, you pick up your cross and you keep going and you don't give up on yourself, you're gonna make it. It's that simple, honest to God. But next thing I wanted to say, because this is true, it was a story that happened to me. I'm like, why am I gonna listen to this retard who didn't even live their life properly? Didn't get, you know what I'm saying? He's just an asshole this whole time, got kicked out of his family, brought back in. I'm like, look, and reads children's books at an old age. I gotta stop. But look, it's just like, I'm not gonna listen to some idiot like that, seriously. And it put me down. You didn't want to hear, this thing that happened. That was obviously lies. And nobody ever wanted to like listen and hear me out. I felt like the devil for a while, I'll be honest with all of you guys out there with the situation. I was like, dude, I felt like shit. And people kept making me feel like shit. And it's like, okay, whatever. It's like, I did the best I could. But walking into this next thing, your future family will benefit from this. Like, honestly, when you pick up your cross, you become, honestly, like your own version of like John Wick in a sense, right? Where nobody's taking out, you're taking everybody out. And you just don't back down. You have to have that weird, that ambition where nobody can take you down no matter what happens to you. And that when you create yourself, when you take your own side, when you're being like, look, man, I am this, I am that, I am building myself up to become this later. I'm building a business. And it's like, you're going to have, even if something simple as that, 50% of business owners fail every year. And you got to realize a lot of those people just give up right after that. You should never do it. This happened to a guy during COVID, right? He had this short little business around the corner of my house. Loved it. It was gonna be even, he had bigger plans for it to be like a whole cafe, eventually a breakfast place. It was good food too, honestly, the stuff he made. And COVID happened, he had to close it down, he just never bounced back from it. And I wish he kind of did, because he was so excited to have this type of thing. He had all of his like savings into it, he was putting in, and he made good food and stuff like that. It's like, dude, I wish you kept going. And it's like, I understand during the COVID thing, maybe come back like a year later, work that job that you were working for, 30 years almost or something like that. I think he's in his 40s or 50s, but he put a lot into his wife and everything. Great people, great food. And it's just, now it's just not there no more. It sucks to see that. And it's just, you can't give up on yourself no matter what happens. Even if you fail or lose money, it's going to happen in life. Something I've even learned lately as well. I'm just like, damn, I was like, I had to pay for this, that, and the other stuff, and the battery for my car. I'm like, you just kind of have to accept it. It's just how the way of life at this point. And it's just, you can't, and this is another thing we'll lead into this. You can't waste your time on doors or on closed doors. Like whatever it is, an ex, relationship, whatever it might have been, friendship or anything like that. It's just not worth to open that door again with certain people. It's not going to get you that far in life. It's just, there's no point. It seriously is. I learned this from this mistake in the past. I can be honest about that. It's just something that is very simple. And, it's something that sucks, I'll say that. It really does, but it's like, hey, God closed that door for a reason, to make me better and become better. It's just, you got to accept that point. And a lot of people don't want to hear that these days. I don't know what it is. There's like demons around everywhere. You bring up Jesus Christ or God, these people look at you differently. And I noticed that a lot, honestly. Walk around, even in public or whatever, just say the name Jesus Christ and people start looking at you strange like they're demons. It's like, okay, it's like a society has been plagued. Seriously. Anyway. You have to become so goal-oriented and rooted like a tree, right? That gives shade, that doesn't beg to be cut down. You might be like, okay, well, what does that even mean? I wrote this down because I was thinking about this. And I was like, a tree that gives you shade and doesn't beg now to be cut down, right? At that point, you're saying, look, I'm standing tall. I'm giving you this. I'm not backing down. You can try to cut me down. I'm not begging for it if you do. It's like, things happen. That's just the way life goes. And a lot of people just don't want to accept that. And this is how your standards rise for greatness, right? I've always had these high standards from like, I guess you would say relationships going forward with the next girlfriends I ever have. It's like, one, I'm gonna be honest with you, I have to have that kind of mindset. You have to. I have that like Kanye West type mindset where it's like, oh, I'm the greatest thing you're ever getting in life. It's the best thing. Honestly, that's true. That's the way you have to live your life. And I mean that going forward, especially for me. I don't care what happens. Like if I do get into like another relationship, right? You know, I'm not gonna be like some retard on the internet as partner because that makes me want to crash out. I just gotta be honest. That's something I've seen too often lately. I hate it with a passion. But it's just like the rise of, you have to rise for greatness, right? It's kind of like Kratos says to Atreus, right? Be better. It's like, don't be sorry, be better. And I've kind of like loved that when I was 17 years old when the game came out. And I was like, look, that's the best way to do it. It's the best way to live life. But like I said before, don't listen to idiots. It's something that I'm just going through my list here at this point. But because that it's truly like, I listened to morons in the past. I had like this one incident I'll bring up later. I just thought about this the other night. And I'm just like, man, it's like people really don't care about you. They want to do all this other stuff. They don't know how to guide you. They don't know how to give you advice. They don't know how to tell you about certain things in the world. It's really strange to me, especially from like older people. I've met a lot of good boomers out there. A lot of people hate, because I understand the whole generational divide stuff going on right now. And it's truly socially engineered. That's how I see it. The left versus right type thing, or we could say the young versus old, which is like kind of the strangest thing before, because in the past we used to respect our elders and everything like that. Now everybody just hates them with a passion because you see so much stuff going on, and I understand with the pricing and everything like that. Like truly I do, because they built their house for like 12 grand, now they're selling it for $800,000. Respectable, understandable. But the one thing I've really noticed as I'm going through the last few things is like, over the last year, I used to be really so like anxious. I couldn't handle certain things. Don't get me wrong, I'm still awkward and stuff like that as a person. This is the nature I am. I'm very like extreme. I don't know what it is. It's just like, I don't know if it's just a retard thing or I'm a freak. I don't know. I'm joking, of course. But no, on a real note, like you'll notice your anxiety will dissipate as soon as you start becoming the person you want to be, when you're goal oriented and the things you're focused on in life. It's the coolest thing I've ever experienced in my life, honestly. Because I used to be so anxious I couldn't even like concentrate. I would just be like just tweaking out almost all the time. And I'd just be like, I don't understand this, that, and the other. I'd start freaking out. Everything would be like freaking me out in my head. And as soon as you get over that, it's so peaceful. I truly mean it, honestly. Because it's like, I know who I am. I know what I want in this life, and I know what I'm going for. It's that simple. I just don't think a lot of people do. And it's like when you let anxiety take over, it's like you become this fragile state of nothing. And that's what I noticed with a lot of people who do still struggle with anxiety. They cope with other mechanisms that don't work, like either drugs or alcohol, that make it worse long term because they're not confronting it, right? The best thing if you do have anxiety, this is something I learned a long time ago when I used to work at a grocery store. I was, 17, 18 years old, and I was scared to talk to people. Truly, it was one of the hardest things to talk to the public, people that come in and stuff like that. And when I just started cursing myself out. I was like, look, man, you got to start effing talking to these people. You got to talk to at least 3 people a day, 5-minute conversations if you can, at least 3 minutes tops, 3 minutes, all right? Try to get 3 to 5 minutes. Started doing it, helped me out for the better, truly did. And now I can talk to anybody, like to have these like fun, bouncy conversations, right? You got to make people smile, laugh. It's just how I see the world. But best thing you can do. Last thing, right? Strange peace, right? This is actually the weirdest thing. I started thinking about this last night when I was writing this down. Like, holy shit, I was like, I didn't even realize this, right? When you start choosing your own side, you start taking your own side to become better, right? You'll notice a strange peace from your inner critic or your inner voice in your head, where it's no longer critical on you anymore. And you don't judge yourself. You don't beat yourself up anymore. You're not like, ew, it's this guy in the mirror or something like that. You don't look at yourself like that anymore. It's one of the coolest things I've ever experienced in my life. I'm actually excited. I see myself here like, yeah, look at you, man. Like, you're out there. You're doing great things. You're hitting the gym all the time. You're eating better. It's just things like that. You feel better about yourself. You feel lighter. You feel stronger. You feel more motivated. You feel more ambitious in life. And it was one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me over the last year, I would say. And it's like, as soon as you take your own side, you pick up your cross, or pick yourself by your bootstraps, as a lot of people say today. It's just, you're unstoppable almost. It's kind of like you're like a force of nature that nobody can stop, and I love it. But let me know what you think down below. It's just, this is one of the coolest things I've ever experienced in my life. And it's one of the best things out there. Shout out to our boy America First over there, Nick Fuentes. But yeah, take your own side, man. It's the best thing you can do in your life. It truly has. It's changed me for the better. Other than that, peace out. Have a great day.